Ladies and gentlemen, please meet Deaconess Grace Ajayi, the woman who drinks the blood of Jesus every morning, the woman who will go to heaven without dying. In the quiet village of Sukuru, near the Sasa River, Deaconess Grace Ajayi was a towering figure of moral authority. Known for her loud voice in church and sharper tongue in the community, she was the self-proclaimed guardian of righteousness. Her hard sermons against the worldly ways of the younger generation often echoed through the church walls, and her favorite targets were the girls of the village who dared to wear trousers, makeup, or weave their hair in colorful braids. "Look at them," she would exclaim, pointing an accusing finger during her Sunday school lessons. "These daughters of Jezebel, flaunting their bodies, inviting sin with every step. What future will they have if they cannot clothe themselves decently? A good Christian woman must carry herself with dignity." Her influence went beyond the pulpit. Mothers would tighten the reins on their daughters after being on the receiving end of a scorn. Fathers nodded in agreement when she declared that modesty begins at home. Even the village elders gave her respectful silence, for none dared challenge her moral proclamations. What no one dared to say aloud, however, was how Deaconess Grace's zeal often came across as cruelty. Young girls avoided her gaze lest they be shamed for wearing earrings or skirts above their knees. She was known to call them out publicly, her voice slicing through their self-esteem like a blade. "Have you no shame?" she once barked at 16-year-old Simi, who had dared to wear lipstick to the Easter service. Simi had fled the church in tears, her cheeks burning redder than a forbidden lipstick. At home, Deaconess Grace ruled with the same iron hand. Her daughter, Tola, was a quiet and obedient girl, raised under her mother's watchful eyes. Grace had molded Tola into the perfect Christian daughter, always in long skirts, hair covered in church, and no social life beyond choir practice. Tola's entire existence revolved around pleasing her mother and maintaining the image of the perfect family. No one knew that Tola had other things hidden under that long skirt she always wore. Things began to change when Tola left for university. At first she called home regularly, her voice steady and dutiful. Yet as the semesters rolled by, the calls grew less frequent, and when they did come, they were filled with awkward silences. Deaconess Grace, proud and trusting, dismissed it as the natural busyness of academic life. "Tola is different from these wayward girls," she would say with a self-satisfied smile. "She has been raised in the fear of the Lord." Unbeknownst to Grace, university life had exposed Tola to a world far beyond the narrow walls of her upbringing. She made friends who wore bright dresses and bold makeup, friends who taught her to laugh freely and to see herself as more than her mother's shadow. She even met someone, Kunle, a kind and intelligent young man who made her feel alive in ways she couldn't explain. Kunle took her to the Garden of Eden and she ate the forbidden fruit. By the end of her second year, Tola found herself in a predicament she could neither hide nor undo. She was pregnant. Fear gripped her heart as she thought of her mother, the judgment, the scorn, the sermons. How could she, Deaconess Grace's daughter, return home in such a state? Weeks turned into months, and Tola's growing belly could no longer be hidden. The time came when she had to face the truth. With trembling hands, she boarded the bus back to Sukuru, unsure of how her mother or the village would react. When Tola arrived, her condition was immediately evident. She stood at the doorstep of their modest home, her face pale but determined, her protruding belly impossible to ignore. Grace opened the door and froze. Her eyes widened as she took in the sight of her daughter, pregnant and trembling. What is this? Grace stammered, her voice low but laced with disbelief. Mama, Tola began, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. For a moment, there was silence. Then came the storm. You have disgraced me, Grace screamed, her voice piercing the air. After everything I have done to raise you right, you go and bring shame to my house? How could you? How could you do this to me? The neighbors, always eager for drama, quickly gathered outside. Words spread like wildfire. The deaconess's perfect daughter had returned home with a grown pregnancy. Whispers and murmurs filled the air, and faces pressed against windows to catch a glimpse of the scene. Grace tried to send Tola away, but the young woman stood her ground. Mama, I have no one else to turn to, she pleaded. Please, I need your help. The once respected deaconess found herself on the receiving end of the very judgment she had so often dished out. The women she had scorned for their daughter's choices now looked at her with smug satisfaction. The girls she had shamed in public avoided her gaze, their silence louder than words. The ultimate humiliation came the following Sunday when Grace walked into church. The congregation, which had once hung on her every word, now whispered behind her back. No one approached her for advice or asked her to pray for them. She felt their eyes heavy with judgment as she sat alone in her pew. For the first time, Grace understood what it meant to be on the other side of condemnation. She realized how her harsh words and self-righteous attitude had hurt others, how she had built her own glass house by pretending to be above reproach. In the weeks that followed, Grace began to change. She stopped pointing fingers and started listening. She apologized to the young girl she had shamed, acknowledging her own hypocrisy. She began to treat Tola with compassion, supporting her through her pregnancy and helping her plan for the future. When Tola's baby was born, a beautiful boy with bright eyes and a hearty laugh, Grace held him in her arms and wept. He was a reminder of her failure, yes, but also a chance to learn humility and grace. The village, seeing her transformation, softened toward her. While some still whispered, others admired her newfound humility. Grace, once the woman who threw stones, had learned the hard way that no one is without fault. From then on, Grace's voice in church was softer, her words kinder. She no longer preached condemnation, but spoke of understanding, forgiveness, and love. And in the quiet moments when she cradled her grandson, she would whisper to him, "We all make mistakes, my dear. What matters is how we choose to move forward." The shattering of her glass house had humbled her, but it had also made her human. Moral lesson: always remember not to throw stones if you live in a glass house.